The day started like any other, with the sun rising over the city and the airport buzzing with activity, as passengers checked in for their flights, unaware of what lay ahead. I boarded the plane with a mixture of excitement and anxiety, not knowing that I was about to face the greatest test of survival in my life. The flight was scheduled to be a short one, a few hours over a stretch of rugged terrain and open waters, and I had flown this route many times before without incident. The cabin crew gave the usual safety briefing, which most of us ignored, distracted by our phones or conversations. I settled into my seat by the window, headphones in, music on, and looked out at the tarmac as we began to taxi down the runway. The engines roared to life, and soon we were airborne, climbing steadily through the layers of clouds into the blue sky. For a while, everything seemed normal. The seatbelt sign turned off, drinks were served, people chatted or dozed off, and I relaxed into the rhythm of the flight. But then something changed. There was a sudden jolt, not the usual turbulence, but a sharp, violent shake that threw my drink into the air and made people gasp in confusion. The plane shuddered again, this time harder, and the lights flickered. A strange silence filled the cabin, followed by a loud explosion from the left side of the plane. Panic erupted instantly. Oxygen masks dropped from above as the cabin lost pressure. People screamed, some cried, others froze in disbelief. The captain's voice came over the intercom, calm but tense, announcing that the aircraft had experienced engine failure and that we needed to brace for an emergency landing. In that moment, everything changed. All the things I thought were important suddenly faded away, and the only thought in my mind was survival. The cabin crew tried to maintain order, guiding passengers to assume the brace position, but chaos was spreading fast. Some prayed aloud, others fumbled with their seatbelts, and I could feel my heart pounding as I tried to stay calm and follow the instructions. The plane began to descend rapidly, the nose tilting downwards as we lost altitude. Through the window, I saw the landscape below rushing up toward us: mountains, forests, rivers a blur of green and brown. We hit the ground with a force that felt like being slammed by a truck. The sound was deafening, metal grinding, glass shattering, screams mixing with the roar of destruction. The impact threw me forward, the seatbelt cutting into my chest, and I blacked out for a moment. When I came to, there was smoke everywhere, and the air was thick with the smell of fuel and burning plastic. The fuselage had split open, and debris was scattered all around. Some people were still strapped into their seats, unconscious or worse, while others crawled, stumbled, or ran for the exits. I unbuckled my seatbelt with shaking hands, my ears ringing, my body sore and bruised. Flames were spreading quickly, and I knew I had only seconds to get out. I helped a woman beside me who was bleeding from her head, and together we pushed our way through the wreckage toward the gaping hole that used to be a doorway. Outside, the air was cold and fresh, and I gasped, grateful just to be breathing. But the danger wasn't over. We had crashed in a remote wilderness, miles from any road or town, with no cell service, limited supplies, and many injured passengers. The first night was the hardest. We huddled together for warmth, using torn pieces of fabric and insulation from the plane as makeshift blankets. I kept thinking about my family, wondering if they knew I was alive. Some people were in shock, others cried silently, and a few took charge, trying to organize the survivors. I found myself among the latter, driven by adrenaline and the instinct to act. We gathered what we could from the wreckage: first aid kits, bottles of water, snacks, flashlights, and did our best to treat the wounded. I remembered bits of first aid training and helped bandage wounds, stop bleeding, and comfort those in pain. As the hours turned into days, survival became our only goal. We rationed food, collected rainwater, built shelters from wreckage and branches, and kept watch for rescue helicopters. Every sound in the distance gave us hope. Every light in the sky made us stand up and wave desperately. We lit fires in clearings, arranged pieces of the plane into SOS signals, and prayed someone would find us. Some people gave up hope, but I held on. I believed that as long as we were alive, there was a chance. There were times when we had to make tough decisions who would go out to search for help, how to divide the last of the water, how to deal with injuries that were getting worse without proper treatment. But we worked as a team, drawn together by shared trauma and the will to live. One day, a group of us spotted smoke in the distance and decided to investigate. After hours of hiking through rough terrain, we found a small cabin abandoned, but stuffed with old supplies, including a radio. We tried it, and by some miracle, it worked. We called for help, gave our location, and within hours, a rescue team was on its way. When the helicopters arrived, the sound of their blades cutting through the air was the most beautiful noise I had ever heard. We ran to them, waving, crying, laughing. The rescuers embraced us, gave us water, blankets, and reassurance. They airlifted the injured first, then the rest of us, and I remember looking down at the crash site one last time as we rose into the sky, a place that had nearly become our grave, but instead became the ground where we proved our strength. The hospital was warm and full of light. Doctors and nurses tended to us. Families came to reunite with their loved ones. And I finally called home to hear the voices I thought I might never hear again. The experience changed me forever. I no longer take anything for granted, not life, not health, not the simple joy of a quiet morning. I learned the power of human resilience, the strength that lies hidden until it's tested, and the importance of staying calm in the face of disaster. Surviving an air crash taught me that fear is real, but so is courage. Pain is real, but so is healing, and death is near, but so is hope. I saw the best and worst of humanity in those days, but above all, I saw what it means to fight for life. Even now, years later, I carry that memory with me. I remember the faces of those who didn't make it, and I honor them by living fully every day. I no longer ignore safety instructions. I no longer complain about small inconveniences, and I no longer underestimate what I am capable of. Every breath is a gift, every sunrise a miracle, and every moment a chance to live not just for myself, but for those who can't. Surviving the crash was not the end, it was the beginning of a new life, one filled with gratitude, purpose, and strength. And while I hope never to face such a test again, I know now that if I do, I will survive not just because I want to, but because I must.